Well, American-born Adele Raemer spent most of her life on kibbutz Nirim in southern Israel. She called it 95% heaven. And then on October 7th, the life she knew came to an end when Hamas terrorists attacked her community.
Just weeks before October 7th, Adele Raemer enjoyed a relatively peaceful life in her beloved kibbutz Nirim, a small village bordered by the Gaza Strip. With its well-kept homes, community garden, and lush agriculture, the kibbutz provided a beautiful communal life for some 400 residents. Born in the U.S., Raemer arrived in Israel in 1973. In 1975, she began teaching at Nirim. She would continue her classroom career for almost 40 years there, while raising her children and then enjoying her grandchildren. Little did she know how close she would come to losing them. Given its location on the Gaza border, the kibbutz almost expects sporadic rocket fire. Then,
the terrorists infiltrated kibbutz.
Came the surprise morning attack on October 7th, when Hamas killed, injured, or abducted about 100 of the kibbutz's residents. Raemer shows in this video how she and her family hid in their home's safe rooms and miraculously survived.
Well, Adele Raemer is here with me now, and thanks so much for being with us. I just so appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
Take us back to that day. It must be very hard to remember it, but what was it like on October 7th?
So October 7th for me actually started on October 6th. And before I went to bed, I told my son, if you don't see me in the morning, don't worry. I'm an amateur photographer, so I'm going out to take a picture of wildflowers before sunrise. Luckily, I did not do that, because I would not be sitting here talking to you today. 6:30 in the morning on October 7th, we started getting massive incoming rockets. And we could tell right at the beginning that this was something unusual, because they were from north of Tel Aviv to south of us. As the day progressed, we ran into our safe rooms immediately, of course, closed the doors, closed the window. We were told at one point that the country had been invaded and that we should go outside, lock our doors and windows, and go back into the safe room and lock ourselves in. The problem with that is that the safe room does not lock. The safe room is built to keep us safe from rocket fire. And despite the fact that we're only a mile away from the border, it was never built for locking against infiltration. So the morning was a harrowing morning, and we did not get any official information because nobody knew what was going on. The army was caught by surprise. We didn't know anything except for the internal messaging that I could see on my phone. And I'm following, we're a small community, and I know where everybody lives, and I'm following the progression of the terrorists as they're getting closer and closer to my son-in-law's house, to my daughter's house, to our house. And just watching as virtually as houses are being burnt and people are being kidnapped, which I actually didn't know until much later. And it took 11 hours until they rescued my son and me. And that was 11 hours of mortal fear. I was sure I was not going to see another day. And I had no idea what was going on with my granddaughters, who were in another house with my son-in-law, who luckily was armed because he's one of the first responders, but didn't go out because the girls were with him on his own. And they burst into his house, and he told my grandchildren, hide yourselves under the blanket. You're going to hear a loud noise. Don't come out no matter what happens. He waited to see the door handle moving. He kicked the door open and shot the terrorist right in front of the house, in front of the safe room. So I almost lost my 3 granddaughters that day. I just want to correct something on my kibbutz. We lost 10 people. 10 people were slaughtered on Nirim, and 5 people were slaughtered on Nirim. 5 people were kidnapped. But I lost many, many friends that day. From neighboring kibbutzim, a very close friend of mine, Judy, who I have on on my dog tag was out walking in the fields for their sunrise walk with her husband, and they were murdered and their bodies kidnapped.
How did you stay safe? If your safe room wouldn't lock, how did you stay safe?
So when we heard, we sat in the safe room with the door closed, and when we heard Arabic outside and shooting just outside the window, my son, who was visiting me, thank God, sat by the door and pulled down on the handle. Because when you're pulling down on the handle, there are iron prongs that go into the frame. And so it locks for as long as you can keep it pulled down, providing that whoever's on the other side isn't strong enough to open it. At one point, we heard the terrorists outside, and we had no idea. My son said that he heard them being called away in Arabic. I looked at him, he looked at me, and told each other that we loved each other and basically said goodbye. About an hour later, when things got quieter, and I had to go to the bathroom, I opened the door very quietly and saw that the slats on my window had been broken. So they were literally starting to infiltrate my house, and dumb luck, divine intervention, or my late husband watching over us, whatever, they moved on. So we were safe for then. There was nothing we could do. I was not armed. There were people that went and got knives from the kitchen. I did not see much point in having a knife against a terrorist that's coming in with an RPG, with automatic guns.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to repel that attack.
No. So
I was in Kfar Aza just last month, and I saw the devastation. I didn't go to your kibbutz, Kibbutz Nirim, but I saw the devastation that was left behind, and the safe rooms that became death traps, the houses that were burned to the ground, the people killed. It was absolutely horrifying to me. What's your message to America today? When you see the protests on the college campuses now, what's your message to them?
You know, the people who live where I do are people that were peace-loving and extended their hands in peace, driving Gazans who needed medical aid to hospitals. These are the people that they, for some reason, felt needed to be attacked and slaughtered. When they say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that's a genocidal war cry, and I take them at their word. And America has to be very, very awake now, because the West is next. They're not going to stop with Israel. Their eyes are set on Israel and then much further on. You have to be aware of that.
Well, I'm aware of that. I'm just amazed that, you know, University of Texas, Columbia University, Yale University, these prestigious institutions where people are quite clearly quite intelligent are buying into this. I've got to call it for what I see. It's a lie.
It is a lie, but it's also, you have to understand that when you're in the Middle East, you have to talk Middle East. You can't talk West. All of those people that are protesting out there do not understand how Islamic Jihad sees the West and what they intend to do. They're the Nazis of 2024. They want to take over the Western world and bring Sharia law and take over everything that we've built in Israel and that America has built up in America.
It seems on occasion that our own government wants us to somehow buy into that it's not what it professes to be. I'm amazed that they're not calling it out. I get access to Arabic translations, and when they speak in English, they say one thing. When they speak in Arabic, they're saying something completely different. And that message isn't getting across. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. President Bush famously said after 9/11 that Islam means peace, and it doesn't. It means submission. And unless you submit to Sharia, they are going to attack you.
You know, I always used to say that I'm sure that the great majority of people on the other side of that fence just want the same thing that I do, to put food on their table, have safety for their children. October 7th changed that for me. I understood that I got my numbers wrong, because it wasn't only the Nukhba that came in, the armed fighters that came into my kibbutz and the communities around. It was the people on the street, men, women, children, all ages, just came in to loot and plunder and destroy. And I'm sitting there with my son holding the handle down, and I'm saying, where are the good Gazans? And I'm in touch with people from Gaza. I've been, in the past, in touch with people with Gaza and done educational activities with them. With people that I know, we're trying to teach the people, the children, that the people on my side of the border do not want their deaths, do want to collaborate and to communicate and to live as good neighbors. But those people are in the minority. And the Hamas has done such an excellent job at educating an entire generation to hate us.
Well, they've done it with our tax dollars. I mean, that's UNRWA. They run all the schools. So it's that we're just not awake to it. Where's their hope? I think there was some glimmer of hope when Iran sent, it's kind of odd to say there's hope in the middle of a direct attack from Iran, but it seems like the Abraham Accords held. And other nations who do want peace, I think Jordan truly does want peace, they joined with Israel in defending against that attack. Saudi Arabia, to my absolute amazement, said that they went public with it and said, we join with this too. We will not allow this to happen. So is there hope? How do we get to that hope? And I guess, how do you defeat the ideology of hate?
So that Saturday was amazing, that Saturday night when those rockets came over, to see how much help we got and how ineffectual those very frightening rocket attacks were in the end. And the hope, you have to be an optimist to live in Israel. You can't not be an optimist. It doesn't work. So I'm going back home, and I'm going to rebuild, and I'm going to make it bigger and better and more beautiful and more wonderful, and that will be my revenge. That will be my way of getting back to say, terror is not going to run my life.
Well, let's talk about that effort. You're raising funds to rebuild your kibbutz. I was in Kfar Aza and talking about, are people going to come back, and are they going to rebuild? And the response I got was, well, some are. Some are willing to do it again. But others are so traumatized by it that just walking inside the kibbutz and the memory of it is just too much for them. As you rebuild, who is going to come and live?
So it's really too early to say. Most people, as of today, are saying that they do want to return, but they'll have to feel safe. And you can't really compare what happened on Nirim to Kfar Aza. On Nirim, there were a number of tragedies, but there were also a number of little miracles that prevented us from being from Nir Oz, who lost 1 out of every 4, to murder, kidnapped, or Kfar Aza. Nirim had a lot less damage done. And we were pioneers in 1946 when the founders of our kibbutz went out into the desert to make it bloom. And I believe that we're going to be pioneers again, going back and rebuilding and hopefully inspiring other communities to do the same, to find the wherewithal to to come back and to live and to prosper and to get our lives back, because we had so much stolen from us. I personally feel I had so much stolen from me that day. My sense of security, my sense of home, my family, who I don't know if they're going to come back. I have to go get that back.
People watching right now, if they want to help you, do you have a nonprofit here in America? How are you raising funds?
So we do have a GoFundMe site with the JNF for Nirim that they can go on and find that. And they're welcome to reach out to me. I'm on social media. I'm Zionist on the Border on social media, and Adele Raemer, and I'll be happy to send them the link to that GoFundMe page.
All right. Well,
Thank
we
you.
wish you well, and may the desert bloom once again, and may it bloom with peace.
It will.
Yes. All right.
With your help.
All right.